After a fast start, the Canucks came crashing back to earth in a 5-1 loss in Pittsburgh. We're breaking it down now. This is Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Pacific Toyota Dealers studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Rink Wide Vancouver brought to you in part by Bet365. I'm Jeff. He is Irf, and, well, you can't win them all. They had gone 3-0 to start this road trip, but after an early goal, a minute and 18 seconds in from Connor Garland, the roof kind of caved in on the Vancouver Canucks, the outmatched and outmanned Vancouver Canucks. And obviously that's a huge part of the storyline as they try to patchwork a lineup together with all the injuries that they have got. But Irf, this was a 1-1 hockey game midway through the second period, and from there, like a house of cards, the Canucks just collapsed.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I knew what to expect going into this game. I didn't think that they were going to go 5-0 on this road trip. I think you and I can both sit here and agree. They said there was going to be a loss here. Maybe it was a scheduled loss here against the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I didn't like the way that the Canucks played in this hockey game. I think that Pittsburgh owned them in all phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams, goaltending. Obviously, Arturs Silvos and him getting the win against his former team must feel good about that, but the Canucks have some serious question marks after this loss, but also, like, you look at the lineup that they had, and it goes a lot deeper than just losing this hockey game.
Yeah, there are some really curious deployment decisions by this coaching staff. And again, Adam Foote's hands are tied. I understand that, but he has to do his part as well here to give his team the best chance possible. And when you are down a bunch of guys, got to look at your horses here, but you got to let the horses out of the barn. And we'll certainly get to that as we move along. I'm glad you brought up Arturs Silvos. His name's going to come up a fair bit here on the postgame podcast. Canucks 3-game win streak comes to an end. They're 3-1 on the road trip. Again, we've talked about house money, but it's more about the process. And there was process issues early against Edmonton and against St. Louis. They sort of got things moving in the right direction. But this one was a whole lot of forgettable, quite frankly, for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they look like as they try to bounce back to wrap up the trip in Nashville on Thursday. The Canucks still with their head above water. They're 4-3 on the season. So the record itself, not an issue. But again, there's some individual problems that we'll talk about, and certainly the collective here, because this is the group. For better or worse, and tonight was worse, and we don't think that there are a lot of injury reinforcements. Brock Boeser's going to get back in the lineup here soon, but I don't know if he'll play in Nashville on Thursday, especially at this stage of the road trip to fly all the way to Nashville and then turn around and come back home and play weekend games. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him till the weekend. And he'll help, without a doubt. He's off to a nice start, 3 goals. He had the shootout winner, but he's only one guy. And so, we'll see what happens. We've talked an awful lot about liking what we've seen from the Abbotsford call-ups, but that Abby line that we referred to, like, we can't even call them that now because there's another Abby line underneath those guys, and this loss isn't on them in any way. Unfortunately, a bunch of them were on the ice for the 1-1 goal that tied it midway through the first period. But let's start with the lone bright spot, I think, on the night for the Canucks, and that was the start. Second straight game now with a quick start, and it was that line of Elias Pettersson and Connor Garland. Petey got the goal in Washington the other night. This time, the nifty little tip pass in the neutral zone, and there's Connor Garland. We always talk about him reluctant to shoot when he's on the power play, but he was not reluctant to shoot as he came wheeling down the right wing boards a minute into the hockey game.
He let that clapper go, and Arturs Silvos got a little bit fooled by it, I think. And first time this season, the Penguins have given up a shot on or a first goal on the first shot of the hockey game. So Arturs Silvos, maybe seeing his former colors there, and was like, okay. Unfortunately, didn't
even Arty was like, Garland's not going to shoot. he doesn't have a slap shot.
Well,
but he got everything on it and picked his spot far side and in, and so start the Canucks were looking for. Bit of a tough start for Arturs Silvos against his former team, but the tables got turned there as the night went along. So as we work our way through this game, Connor Dewar ties it 11:39 of the First period, a bit of a scramble. P.O. Joseph making his Canucks in his season debut. He went down, blocked his shot, was in some distress as we look at the replay on the live stream here. He wasn't able to do much to defend. He could barely stand, and it was that line of Nils Åman and Joe LeBate. And these are guys that want to be in the National Hockey League, but haven't been in the NHL, in LeBate's case, much over the last while. And Åman has seen some time, we know, with the Vancouver Canucks. But you want those guys to be able to hold their own, right? Yeah. Just tread water. Don't get scored on. And unfortunately, they got scored on. The long shot by Witherspoon was deflected in front. Dewar with his second of the season. That tied the game at 1. And again, road team, 4th game away from home now, Eastern time zone, all that kind of stuff. Get out of the first period 1-1, you're fine. And then the first 10, 12 minutes of the second period, the ice started to tilt. Like Pittsburgh was starting to take over the game. Brian Rust had a chance at the side of the net, and Crosby scooped in there, thought maybe he had been able to tuck the puck past Lankinen, who held the post. But if you're looking for a turning point, Drew O'Connor, former Penguin, back in Pittsburgh, takes an offensive zone tripping penalty in a 1-1 tie, and the Penguins made the Canucks pay. It was Tommy Novak with his first as a Penguin. 14:21 was the time of the goal off the faceoff, quick wrist shot. Or check that. It wasn't off the faceoff. It was on the power plays. They worked it around from the right side. It was Sidney Crosby that scored off the faceoff. Puck came to him in the middle of the ice, and Sid scored a few in his day, so makes no mistake. Crosby gets his 4th of the season. That was at 16-18, and at that point, it goes from a 1-1 tie to a 3-1 Pittsburgh lead, and you could just sort of feel the air coming out of the Canucks' tires, and then the Penguins poured it on a minute and 11 seconds after that. Anthony Mantha, we talk about the original Abbotsford line. They did some good things in this hockey game, and they've all shown well, but scoring chance at one end, and Max Sasson just can't contain Anthony Mantha. He was a big man, and size matters. He was able to basically bully his way to the front of the net there, and unfortunately for Sasson and for Kevin Lankinen, puck. First I thought he kicked it in, but the replay clearly showed he was able to get his stick on it. And so 4-1 after 2 periods of play, shots in that second, 14-5 in favor of Pittsburgh, and that pretty much tells you the way that middle 20 minutes went.
Yeah, 2-1 the power play goal. I thought, okay, if there is some pushback here after this, that's the time, right? You're in the 2-1 hockey game. Once it goes to 3-1, it was OVAH after that. I didn't think the Canucks were going to mount a comeback after they goes down 3-1. You mentioned it being deflating for them. There wasn't any offense. Obviously, the numbers don't lie. They're 14-5. Shots. If you're not shooting the puck or you're not trying to tilt the ice in your favor or generate some offense, good things aren't going to happen for you. And I think that one of the things that we've talked about with this team so much is their pushback, is when they go down and they seem like they're out of hockey games. This one, maybe a little bit of fatigue here out during this road trip. But you're right about some of the players. I mean, our chat is going nuts about deployment, and this isn't the real Canucks. These are just AHL players. They are, but they're playing in NHL games.
Yep.
And you still have to have an effort. You still have to have guys. It's a great story for Joe LeBate, coming full circle for him and being able to, come back and play in the NHL so many years later. But you got to have some effort by some more guys. The Abbotsford line has been great. They've been a good story. But if you need them to contribute more, how much more are you really going to get out of them? And I think that's another thing that we have to look at as well.
Well, we'll dip into the chat here as well. Want to hear from you. Love to see some super chats, some contributions that support the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Adam in the chat saying Lankinen needed to be better. I mean, it doesn't look good. 5 goals on 24 shots. I look at the goals that were scored. I'm not sure that I have a bad goal among them, but It was one of those nights where, you would have liked him to have come up and made that spectacular save that, maybe it was the Crosby goal. Again, Sid knows where the net is, but in a 2-1 game, you make a stop there, keep your team in it, give them a chance. At 3-1, this one did feel like it was over. Adam also saying Kane penalty in the first, flipped the momentum, never got it back after that. I looked at the O'Connor penalty, but if we're going to bring up Evander Kane, how about the breakaway in the first period at 1-0? A chance for this undermanned team to make a statement and get a little breathing room, And that was one of Arturs Silvos' better saves and more high-leverage saves as the night went along. And so we ask, when is Evander Kane going to get his first as a member of the Vancouver Canucks?
And it might be one of those goals that just hits him and goes in, right? Evander Kane had a couple chances to score in this hockey game. He had another partial breakaway, and you and I kind of looked at each other. Old Evander would have that pull-away speed, and it's just not there. It's no knock really on him. You get older, Father Time kind of catches you a little bit. So, unfortunately for Evander, wasn't able to pull away on that one to get a clear-cut scoring chance. But you're right. I mean, as it goes longer and longer and longer, we're going to have to sit here and talk about it. So we sit here and talk about it. We notice it. The coaching staff notices it. You sure as hell know Evander knows. I mean, I'm sure he wants to score, but it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to keep charting until it actually happens.
He got called for hooking 8 minutes into the hockey game. They killed that one off. So I don't know about the momentum thing. I mean, yes, they scored a few moments after that. But again, it's 1-1 midway through the second period. So halfway through this hockey game, it's 1-1, and the Canucks are right there, and they've done a nice job on this road trip of finding that next goal when they need it, and the comeback wins in Chicago and Dallas, and piling it on for a while there in Washington. But the cold hard truth is, Irf, that since that 4-0 lead started to get away from them in Washington the other day, they have been outscored 8-1. Yeah, that's not our stat that stands out. We're getting the stat that stands out.
that is one that stands out, though.
Yeah, I know. It's almost a little hard to digest right now in the aftermath. Evander Kane, by the way, 3 shots on goal, 7 attempts. I noticed him in this hockey game. As you said, it wasn't just the breakaway. There were a few other opportunities there. And this wasn't a physical game. Just one hit for him. Kiefer Sherwood gets his 4. To his credit, Joe LeBate trying to get noticed and do the things that he's going to have to do to get more NHL reps. He had 6 hits to lead the Vancouver Canucks, but he was on the ice, as we said, for that first Pittsburgh goal that ultimately started the comeback, the first of 5 unanswered goals for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's get to the 3 stars.
Okay.
And as always, the 3 stars here on Rink Wide Vancouver, a presentation of Greta Bar. Great place to catch all the games, walking distance from the rink and the stadium, or if you're looking for a place to watch games on TV, Greta's got you covered there. All kinds of big screens, all the action, plus the street food menu that we talk about. They got weekly drink specials. There are arcade games all around the establishment. It's a ton of fun. They've got game day specials as well. So if you haven't already, make a point, put it on the list, check it out. Greta Bar, the place to be. 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar, let the games begin. 3 stars as selected by the Pittsburgh media, Justin Brazeau, Sidney Crosby, and Chris Letang. How can you not throw Arty a bone? Come on. His own Pittsburgh media. And again, he wasn't busy in this hockey game, but gave up 1 and came a minute and 18 seconds away from a shutout, kind of. He gave up the early one, and after that, he shut the door. But Justin Brazeau, he had a 3-point night, and I'm not here to take anything away from the guy. He's got 5 goals already, but he gets the 5-1 goal and a pair of second assists. So it's not like he was dominant, but he's in on 3 of the 5 scoring plays. And if he continues to play with Evgeny Malkin and the way that he's going, those are a couple of big bodies. Throw Mantha in there as well. That line could be a real handful. So Brazeau's the first star. There's Arturs Silvos, the familiar face, and he stops 24-25. He's the second star, and Sidney Crosby could be a star most nights. It was the 3-1 goal that put a little distance between the Penguins and the Canucks, but really when I look at Sid's night, his only shot on goal, he scored, so good shooting percentage there, 15-5.
Yeah.
Goes 75% in the face-off circle. And face-offs, I want to come back here in a sec to face-offs on the night because they were a huge story. And when you're going with 3 AHL centers, essentially, it's going to be a problem. And it certainly was for the Vancouver Canucks. So Brazeau, Silvos, Crosby, the 3 stars, brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. All right, a couple of super chats. This one coming from Thank Me Later. As a positive guy, I generally don't know where you go from here. Even with best back, still need a 2C. Also, you can't tell me that POJ is better than Mancini. Pierre-Olivier Joseph. And then Multi with another super chat here. Curious your thoughts on Hronek. Lots of giveaways, lots of pucks getting dumped, 7.25 mil. He needs to be a lot better and start making plays. On a night like this when you give up 5. I think it's fair to look at individual defensemen, the defense collectively. It's a team game, and when you've got a bunch of AHLers, obviously the D is going to be tested and under stress as well. So I don't think anybody can be shocked at the way that this game unfolded. It's just that really it was a half a game that half went well, and then it was... And look, the Canucks PDO has been carrying them here. Thatcher Demko's been terrific. Maybe they were due for a night like this. It's just when it came thundering down, there was nothing that the Vancouver Canucks could do to turn things back in their favor. Got to have the puck to make some things happen. And look at the faceoff surf. The Canucks went 19 and 39 in the faceoff circle. That's 33%. So the Penguins started with the puck 2/3 of every draw. Individually, Max Sasson, 1 win in 8 faceoffs. That's not good.
Nope.
Elias Pettersson,
Your NHL center.
your number 1 guy, 6 and 16.
Yeah.
So 6 of 22. Ratu held his own. He had 9 of the Canucks' 19 faceoff wins, went 9 and 9 on the night. So he was a push in the faceoff circle. But yeah, and this hasn't been a great start to the season. Faceoffs have been a bit of an issue. Philip Hedl wasn't great on the draw. Braden Coots, well, he was here. He didn't take a lot, but for obvious reasons, young guy. Just getting out-muscled, and Elias Pettersson, it's not his strong suit either. So something to monitor here. They didn't lose the hockey game because they lost all these faceoffs, but is this going to be a trend? Is there anything they can do about it in the short term? Can Max Sasson be better than 1 for 8? I hope so.
Yeah.
And so, I just wanted to point that again. Not the stat that stands out. We'll get to it, but it is a stat that stands out, certainly, when you get pummeled that badly in the faceoff circle.
Yeah. I mean, Elias Pettersson getting worked against Sidney Crosby, but still, I mean, you do want, there to be a little bit more. And I think the big things with faceoffs is you lose more, you don't start with the puck. And then you're working and you're chasing to try and get the puck, and then you're just playing defense all the time. So it's going to be something that we charge. It's going to be something that we're going to have to look at here down the road.
Sid won 9 of 10 against Petey.
There you go.
Yeah,
that worked.
Indeed, he did. All right, let's get to the stat that stands out, and then I want to really kind of dive into some of this deployment that's being talked about. Yep. I know people in the chat are losing their minds there as well, and I get it. I'm with you. I hear you. Trust me, and we will get to it. But the stat that stands out is delivered by Uber Eats, and Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. When the Canucks are at home, and that's coming up here after the final game of the trip in Nashville on Thursday, every time the Canucks play at home, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece Chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver, only on Uber Eats. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, or after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Hashtag crave the stats. And there you see on the screen. For those of you listening as a podcast, we'll read it along. But with the victory, Arturs Silvos improves to 3-1 this season. He won just 2 NHL games all of last year. They were both against the Chicago Blackhawks. Rick Tocchet just ran out of confidence and trust and basically refused to play him later in the season. But we all know how the story went. So down to Abbotsford he went to rediscover his good stuff, and he had it in the playoffs, the AHL MVP. I ask you. You like to ask me, but I'm going to ask you. Game 6 against Charlotte or Game 6 of this season against the Vancouver Canucks? Which do you think is a bigger win in Arturs Silvos' mind?
Ooh. I think winning the Cup is obviously bigger, the Calder Cup. However, I think this one for him might be better than winning the AHL MVP. I think this one means a lot more.
I would tend to agree.
Yeah.
What you do in the minors, it was great. It was something they'll walk together as a group. Mm-hmm. But he said after that win, he felt he had graduated from the AHL. He had left it behind. He thinks he's an NHLer. There was no room here with the glut of goaltenders that they had committed to, and so he's got a home in Pittsburgh. They're rotating their goaltenders. Tristan Jarry had the shutout the other night in San Jose. They didn't come back with Tristan Jarry. They went to Arturs Silvos. You knew that this game meant something, and he holds up his end of the bargain. And so Penguins getting some goaltending in the early going, and good to see Arty finding a home there, and we'll see how the season unfolds. But he has a win over JT Miller and now he has a win over the rest of the Vancouver Canucks among his 3 victories. Matches his career high. He wants to drive that number through the roof, obviously, but 3 seasons now he's had 3 wins, and last year he had just 2.
Okay, so this 3-1 team is not as good as last year's team where he had 3 wins the entire year.
Right.
That team made the playoffs. I mean, the Canucks didn't make the playoffs
Not last year.
Sorry, not last year, but still.
No, I mean, I think people think that the Penguins were going to be bottom feeders.
Yeah.
They're trying to prove people wrong. It's a long season, but they're 5-2 now after this win. They've won 3 in a row, coming off a California road trip. This was the first game back home for them, and that sometimes can be tricky. But it wasn't a bit of a slow start, but it turned out to be a blip. Off the hop for the Penguins, they end up winning this thing by 5-1 count. All right. Multi had asked about Phil Hronek. And we can start a little discussion there. 22 minutes and 48 seconds. No shots on goal. 5 minutes and 9 seconds of penalty killing time. I was kind of curious how they were going to deploy a second unit with so many guys missing on the power play. He saw a little bit of power play time. But I would suggest that there's more to give if you're Philip Hronek. And I certainly think that there's more to give for his partner as well. And so the pairing, individually and as a duo, has been okay, but hasn't been great. And so we all know that Quinn Hughes can be better, and you certainly hope that he's going to be better. And the underlying numbers for Phil Hronek actually don't look that bad. Got hurt in Pittsburgh last year, so I think he got out of this game unscathed. Individual, of course, he has 60%. The shots on goal were 5-4 in the Canucks' favor on the ice for a goal for and a goal against. In fact, he got the assist, the second assist. He headmans the puck to Petey, who tipped it on to Garland for the Canucks' only goal on the night. So I thought Phil Hronek was okay in this hockey game, but again, when you're down key players, I think you look at the remaining key players that you got, and you have to ask more, whether it's fair or not. Life's not fair. This is the NHL, and so I think Hronek and Hughes and others have to be better. But I hear the argument that it's $7.25 million. Like, you're getting paid to leave an imprint on a hockey game, and he's got to find ways to leave his mark on these games.
Well, I also think if the other guy, his partner, isn't going, it just blows up even more.
Yep.
There's more focus on every single one in that defensive six that they have back there if Quinn Hughes isn't going. So yes, Philip Hronek, may have not looked like his Philip Hronek self, but a lot of the times it's because Quinn Hughes is just doing so much that we get lost and drawn to the Quinn Hughes effect. So right now, Quinn Hughes is kind of looking a little bit like 2021 Quinn Hughes, right? He just doesn't feel like he has that extra step. We're not really on the edge of the seat when he has the puck. I know it's only 7 games in. Maybe I'll come back to this at 15 and 20 games in, a quarter way through the season. We can have a real discussion about it if things get the same. But it just looks a little off. And I think that's what a lot of people do agree with here, especially in our chats. And even watching the game, you and I talked about it. It's a little off. Like sometimes it's there, but there's just something missing.
Yeah, and I do think that teams are trying harder than ever to take time and space away from Quinn and close him down and box him in and pressure him. But that's where he's got to use a guy like Hronek then, because if they're shading to his side at 5-on-5, you would think that would leave Philip Hronek a little more room over on the other side. And he's got the bomb of a shot, and we don't see him use it an awful lot. So, it's a team game, but those two, they play a ton in all situations, and the Canucks are going to need a little bit more from both of them, certainly. But yes, Quinn, it hasn't been a dynamic start to the season for him. All right, let's get to it here, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. And Adam Foote, he's the coach. The buck stops with him. And I said it off the top, like, he doesn't have this long list of dynamic offensive weapons at his disposal. Heedle's out. Besser's gone. Lekkermaki's out of the lineup right now. I mean, all three of those guys have scored for the Canucks this year and would be expected to score if they're in the lineup. So that's essentially a second line. You can make the argument. You got to let your dogs bark. Mm-hmm. At 5-on-5, and I want people to listen closely to this. At 5-on-5 in this hockey game against Pittsburgh, Jake DeBrusk, the team's leading goal scorer from last year, and I know he did a ton of his damage on power play, but he led the team in goals. He represents the idea of offense. He played 7 minutes and 31 seconds at 5-on-5 and was the low man by 2 minutes. The next low man was Elias Pettersson, the forward. They played less 5-on-5 than Joe LeBate playing his first game for the Vancouver Canucks in 8.5 years. They played less than Nils Åman and Linus Karlsson and Archdeep Baines. Like, how can that ever make sense? That even if you think that Jake DeBrusk doesn't have it, you got to let him work through it here. He had 10 shots on goal in Chicago the other night. It's not like he only has one goal. I get that part of it. But how can you go from a guy that had 10 shots on goal on Friday night to a guy that basically can't get off the bench in a 1-1 hockey game with less than 30 minutes? Like, that one makes no, I don't know. And, Adam Foote's on the road. The Canucks are on the road. There isn't a whole ton of media, so I don't know what kind of questions are going to get asked. I saw a lot of people saying, like, why won't anybody ask Foote? Well, there's not many media that travel anymore. There's not many out on this road trip. And, this is something we're all going to have to watch closely. And if it continues, when he gets back home, those questions will get asked, I promise you. But even on Sunday, and I know you weren't here on Sunday, it kind of got lost in the, hey, they won the hockey game, the Philip Hedl, Petey blocking Ovi shots at the end. There was a lot going on. Elias Pettersson played less than Teddy Bluger the other night.
Yeah.
Or morning. And Teddy Bluger didn't play the final 6 minutes of that hockey game, and still Elias Pettersson's ice time was way down. So I don't know what's going on, but this is a big old, red flag to me right now, 7 games into the season, that Jake DeBrusk, a 28 goal scorer, is getting next to no ice time in a hockey game when you're tied or you're trailing and need some offense to get back into it.
It's tough to watch because they're the stars of your team when the rest of your team is AHL. Elias Pettersson should have been up in over 20-something minutes tonight. Jake DeBrusk should have been up in over 20-something minutes or 18 minutes at least. The 5-on-5 stuff is shocking if we're being real here. Yeah. And it goes back games, Jeff. It's not just here against the Pittsburgh Penguins in a loss. It's even in wins. You look at the ice time of some of these guys and you look at the situational play that they get put out in, and you really start to look at it and you say, what is really going on there? Is it a case if you're going with guys that are feeling it? Is it a case if you're going with guys to protect the lead, for an instance against Washington? But then in a game like here against the Pittsburgh Penguins, you're down and need goals. And Joe LeBate's playing more, and guys like Nils Åman are playing more than Elias Pettersson. You're right. It just doesn't make any sense.
No, it is curious to say the very, very least. So, again, nothing that can be done about it now. The game's over, but they play again on Thursday. I understand that they're in a stretch of 7-11, and maybe he's trying to govern the ice time a little bit so that guys have they play Thursday and they come home, and then, boom, they run into Montreal in a 4 o'clock start on Saturday, and then play on Sunday against, Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. So there's just no let-up in this schedule. In fact, I was looking at it. They finish in Nashville this Thursday. The following Thursday, they're back in St. Louis. And in between, they've come home. They've gone back-to-back with the Habs and the Oilers. And, JT Miller and everything that is going to, in that night's going to entail, and the emotions and everything else. So Olympic year comes with the territory. All teams are going to have to deal with these sorts of stretches. But if you're trying to conserve energy, I have some time, I suppose. And if it was as simple, or if it's, he benched his best players in the third period because they're down 5-1 and he had 9 to the next. No, Jake DeBrusk barely played in the first 2 periods of this hockey game. So, something a little strange going on there. And definitely something that we are going to continue to watch and track and monitor as this trip and this season rolls along. This segment of Rink Wide, Presented by the Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. It's a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You can drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone. That's enough to get you from downtown to the rink to the grocery store and then home to recharge. Seamlessly transitions from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. There's no sacrifices when it comes to horsepower or style with its sleek and low and wide exterior and sophisticated interior, and it's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. So plug in to recharge at home or at one of over 2,000 public charging stations in BC. Right now, you can lease a 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down, and it includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. P.O. Joseph, his Vancouver Canuck, and his season debut against one of his former teams. He also was played for Arizona and St. Louis, but most recently a Pittsburgh Penguin. The final line on his night, 12 minutes and 1 second. 3 shots on goal, a couple of block shots was one of the blocks he felt, certainly that led to that 1-1 Pittsburgh goal. He took a penalty late in the hockey game as well. He didn't have a great preseason, I didn't think, and then he got injured. They started the season with the young guys, obviously, in these transactions. Mancini goes down. We had the one super chat that said, can't tell me that P.O. Joseph is a better player than Victor Mancini. I'm not sure it's an either-or at this stage. I do think that the Canucks want to get as many healthy bodies as they can back. Derek Forbert's kind of gone missing in action as well. So they're plugging some holes here. They owed it to P.O. Joseph to get into game action. I mean, they signed him as depth. I think he understands his role. It's kind of like Noah Juleson or Mark Friedman last year. He knows he's not going to be an everyday player, but when he plays, he does have to play well enough because the Canucks do think that they've got these young players that are on the way, and Mancini is one of them. I wonder if we see Tom Willander's NHL debut on Thursday in Nashville.
Well, here's the thing. I asked you straight up this question. Did P.O. Joseph do enough to warrant another game in the NHL when you have a guy like Tom Willander? You can try and protect him a little bit, but at least give him some sort of runway, maybe play with a little bit of jump, show a little bit of something different. I'm not entirely sure he did. That performance, I'm not. Look, it wasn't a banner night for a lot of guys on defense there. You get shelled for 5 goals, but on a night where you have a kid who's probably up here, he's excited, he's jacked up to play, I don't think P.O. Joseph did enough to get into lineup on Thursday.
Well, I think, too, at the end of a road trip, look at opponents. Nashville's not particularly good. They don't score a lot of goals. I think that might be the ideal kind of opponent to get Willander his first game, give him the rookie lap and let him play. You hope that he would be fired up. You'd like to think that a guy's first game in the NHL would bring a little energy as well. We heard some of the other players, the veteran guys, talking about how much fun it was to see Braden Coots go through that. Because when they come off the road, even though they're home and they could shelter a young guy, we know what Montreal can do. We certainly know what Edmonton is capable of, and I know the Oilers have kind of been scuffling along, but they beat Ottawa in overtime, so they wrap up their road trip feeling a little bit better about themselves. They already dominated the Canucks territorially back on the 11th of October, and Thatcher Demko was the only reason that game was even remotely within reach, so I don't think it's fair to throw a ladder to the Edmonton Oilers right off the bat here, but I think Nashville actually feels like a really sweet spot for a young guy, especially at that position. And if I'm not mistaken, he was drafted in Nashville. So kind of a full circle moment for him, if in fact that's where he gets to get the green light to play in the NHL for the first time.
Obviously, a lot of this was, cap gymnastics and what have you, and trying to make the money work and things like that. So Victor Mancini has to play on Friday in Abbotsford before he can be called back up. So I don't think Victor Mancini is playing Friday, playing Saturday, and playing Sunday.
No.
So someone somewhere has to be in the lineup at some point here with this defense, right? And is that going to be P.O. Joseph? Is Derek Forbort going to show up and be around? Not entirely sure what the severity or duration of whatever is ailing him.
He played the first 2 games of the season, and then we were told maintenance when he didn't play in the third game against St. Louis. Went from maintenance to putting on the IR to not on this road trip, and now it's going to be at least 2 weeks between games, and who knows? I haven't seen or heard any kind of update on Derek Forbort, so it's coming up on 2 weeks, but it may be more than that for something that we were led to believe was maintenance at one point. Clearly has turned into
no one really knows
a fair bit more than that. Did any of those call-ups, whether it's LeBade or Amon or we talked about P.O. Joseph, I mean, was there anybody that jumped out at you? Certainly there were no Canucks among the 3 stars. Anybody that caught your attention for the right reasons in this hockey game?
Not particularly. I mean, it's unfortunate, right?
Because you're not wrong.
In a game that you lose and you get beat up pretty good, you're looking for grasping at straws, trying to find something.
Yeah.
And on a night where there wasn't really much, nobody stood out. Nobody was there that really did enough. You had the Connor Garland goal. It was a nice Elias Pettersson tip pass. And as for offensive output, you had 5 shots on net in the second period. So really, what were we doing in a 5-1 game in the third period? Okay, is someone going to get a shot on net? Can we grasp straws at that? And I don't think that we can sit here and you and I and be like, oh, someone's great because they had 1 shot on net in the third period.
No.
It was an unfortunate loss for them. It was a loss that, they're going to have to learn from in a big, big way. But ultimately, the entire thing is about roster deployment with the players you have and roster construction with what you have as well. And that's just an underlying issue that goes well beyond what we sit here and talk about every night.
I do want to throw a few flowers Linus Karlsson's way. Doesn't figure in the scoring. So, this is hard to get fired up about, but he had 9 shot attempts in this hockey game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a couple of power moves trying to kind of work out of the corner and take the puck hard to the net, and he scored some greasy goals last year, and yes, it would have been kind of fitting had one of the Abbotsford guys been able to beat Arturs Silvos, but Arturs Silvos knows their bag of tricks as well, and Garland's the only guy that beat him. But I guess I'm encouraged, small e, because really it's hard to get terribly fired up about anything coming out of this hockey game, but to see Linus Karlsson with 9 shot attempts at the very least, only 2 of them on goal. He's heading to Nashville where he scored his first National Hockey League goal, so maybe he'll get the good vibes going again there. But, otherwise, when I look, Kiefer Sherwood up over 20 minutes again, played 23 minutes. And it's fine. Like, Adam Foote and I think most people like what Kiefer Sherwood brings to the mix, but Kiefer Sherwood can't be your ice time leader. Like, on a good team, Kiefer Sherwood's probably a third-line guy. And yes, he's off to a nice start, and he's playing in all situations, and he's doing his best to fill in here. But
unfortunately, Jeff, this team isn't good with what they have right now.
I know,
right?
But this comes back to this idea of 7 games and 11 nights. You're playing the wheels off Kiefer Sherwood. I just don't know that that's sustainable either. So that's where I look at Kiefer Sherwood playing 20 minutes and 28 seconds on the night, and Elias Pettersson playing 16:56, 3 minutes less than Kiefer Sherwood. That just doesn't add up any way you cut it. Kiefer Sherwood with a shot, 4 hits, because I think he starts every game with 4 hits in the caddy. He had that big one on Noel Acciari that Acciari was shaken up. He was able to stay in the hockey game, but Kiefer Sherwood absolutely bulldozed him along the sideboards late in the second period there. Otherwise, this is a Vancouver team now that has to still feel good about itself. I think that's the important part here is this one was right off, put it under the rug, make sure that it doesn't happen again. But they have a chance to go 4-1 on this road trip going into Nashville on Thursday, and let's see what they can do. Because they can get the narrative back in the right direction here that this plucky underman team comes off the road with 8 of a possible 10 points if they can get it done. If they are feeling sorry for themselves and they let this thing linger in this run of 8-1, which they've been outscored since the midway mark of that game in Washington the other day, then I think the Heat's just going to kind of get turned up again. But we're going to hear from Elias Pettersson. Kind of curious to get his thoughts. I'm curious to hear from anybody after this one. So we'll get to Petey in a moment. Want to remind you, make sure that you follow Rink Wide on all the socials, and especially make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to continue to deliver the post-game live stream as we always have, but we're kind of adding. We're growing here at Rink Wide. We're going to post all kinds of practice and game day content from the rink, videos, player scrums. Hit subscribe, set your notifications. You will not miss a thing, and we will continue to grow out our Rink Wide YouTube channel. All right. I'm just waiting for the high sign that we've got the EP40
I think we do.
scrum. We do?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's hear from Elias Pettersson after a bit of a disheartening 5-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Let's just start with what you saw from that game. I mean, 2 strong starts essentially last game and this one, but what changed?
Yeah, I like our start. I think it came out good. Second period, I don't know. I think we gave them too much. They got some life in that. I thought we were controlling the game good, but the later slip.
What is the message around the team as a leader with this group as you head towards Nashville in the next one?
Yeah, don't let it continue. Understand what we could have done better today. We can't let games slip like this. Yes, we've been playing some good hockey lately, but it doesn't come easy. So it's got to bring it every night.
What do you think needs to be sharper on the power play?
Well, it starts with me. If I win, if I win more draws, we start with the puck. I think I don't even know, 1 for 5. That's not good enough. We keep having to break the puck in instead of starting with the puck in defense on this one. But when we get to shot opportunities, yeah, I definitely think it starts with me winning the draw and start from there.
All right, some honesty from Elias Pettersson. We touched on Faceoff,
Yep.
so we didn't break it down by game state, but he knows that he wasn't good enough in the Faceoff circle and some of it on the power play, and he's not wrong. On power, neutral zone Faceoff's a big deal in the grand scheme, but power play Faceoffs matter, and you want to win the draw and have the puck, and you saw the Penguins were able to convert on a couple of power plays, get the puck, work it around, apply pressure, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, this wasn't so much about the Canucks gaining the zone and setting up and establishing control. It was they didn't have the puck and had to go all the way back and fetch it. So he's not wrong there, and I'm glad to see him own that. But, again, face-offs is a very minor part of a hockey game, ultimately, that ended up so one-sided the way it did on the scoreboard. So didn't seem to have a whole lot of other answers about where it went wrong and what has to get better. But as he said, can't allow it to bleed into the next game. And he, again, not wrong there either.
No, memory of a goldfish, right? Swipe this one under the rug, just like you said, and get on to Nashville, right? Board that plane, get on to Nashville, have your day off and chill, do whatever you need to do and get ready. You still have an opportunity like we just talked about here, and they know it too. You go 4-1 on this road trip.
Yeah.
Right? You're going against a team that you probably feel pretty good about beating, right? Kiefer Sherwood in his old building, he's going to be jacked up for the game. If, Tom Willander's playing in an NHL debut, he could be jacked up for a game. Like, you want to finish the road trip on a good note, right? You're not going to practice Friday with back-to-backs.
Nope.
So and an early game. So you do try and let it all out of the tank there, and, hopefully a good result can happen. But yeah, if I'm the Canucks, I don't watch too much film of this. There are things that you can learn from, but I think a lot of these guys are smart enough where they know where they went wrong, as we just heard in Elias Pettersson, especially with draws. But you can bet the leadership group of this team definitely knows where they need to turn to in Nashville.
Well, Irf, I don't have to tell you.
No.
And I probably don't have to tell many of the viewers and listeners, but Rink Wide Vancouver is brought to you in part by Bet365, and that always brings us to our line of the night. You went wild on your last one here on Friday with the 6-way parlay.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. That was absolute garbage. Going a little bit different for Wednesday night, okay?
Okay, yep.
We're going to take the Detroit Red Wings on the road in Buffalo for obvious reasons. The Detroit Red Wings in Buffalo. And then I'm going to take the Montreal Canadiens -1.5 over the Calgary Flames. So win by 2 goals. Montreal Canadiens -1.5 and the Detroit Red Wings to beat Buffalo. That's +505. So some pretty good odds there if you do want to take both of those teams. I think the Montreal Canadiens have been a wicked story. That team is so young and fun to watch. And obviously the Buffalo Sabres, what really are they? The Detroit Red Wings kind of coming alive a little bit as well. So I like those two, +505. Go and get it. And whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary. You bet 365. Download the app, get it on the game. Use the code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly.
It's too early in the season to be worrying about the standings, but there were a bunch of games around the National Hockey League that involve Pacific Division teams. So we won't update the standings necessarily, but the Oilers beat Ottawa in overtime, so a win for Edmonton. Connor McDavid with his first of the season. Jake Wallman had the overtime winner there. Seattle Kraken coming off the good win in Toronto on the weekend. Unfortunately, it was the wrong Seattle team beating Toronto. That was Saturday night. They needed a win on Sunday or Monday. Didn't happen. Kraken suffer their first regulation loss, though.
Okay.
They lost 4-1 was the final in Washington. So the Capitals bouncing back from the loss to the Canucks. So Edmonton wins, Seattle loses, and Anaheim looks like it's on its way to a victory in Nashville. And, of course, Nashville next up for the Canucks. Ducks are up 5-2 late in the third period there. So that's some of the things happening around the National Hockey League on this Tuesday night. All right, going to get back into that Canuck locker room.
Yes, let's do it.
And we spent a fair bit of time talking about the coach. I'm kind of curious to see what he was asked and what he has to say after a 5-1 loss.
2 games in a row, we do see strong starts. You get goals within the first minute and a half, but what was the difference in tonight's game?
We could have been up 3 or 4 nothing in the first 10 minutes, but it didn't happen. And then, I think with you run out a little bit of gas, you put yourself in a situation where you take some penalties you probably most likely wouldn't take if, that last schedule of 3 games, it seems like just before the penalties, guys may have not held up or maybe didn't move their feet, just a little bit of details that lead to penalties. And, they were penalties. So when that happens and you give them, 5 power plays, they got 2 goals. So, I mean, a lot of good things early, and, we looked like we just ran out a little bit of a gas.
Connor Garland gets the lone goal tonight. What positives have you seen from his game in the start of this season?
Yeah, he's been going. He's been a motor for us, defensively and offensively. Very consistent.
So you had the 3 in less than 72 hours, and obviously a lot of emotion spent on Sunday. Do you think some of that caught up to the group today?
Well, I don't know if it's emotions as much as it's just schedule. Like you said, the 3 for sure in that period, and with injuries and stuff like that, you come in the middle, just past the middle of the road trip. Early we're flying. We all saw it. You get that next goal, it could have been a whole different story, but we can't overthink it. When we have starts like that, and the guys we were playing our game and they were having fits with it, and 1 or 2 go down there, then we could be talking about something else right now.
How difficult is it when you're chasing the game, but you're also chasing the puck after every face-off? They were so good today on face-offs.
Yeah, they were better than us on the face-off today, but I mean that's part of hockey, and I don't think we were chasing the game like it made it sound there. I really don't. I think they were chasing us. They got away with it early. We could have, like I said, been up, and it looked like we just ran out of gas.
You guys talked a lot last year about not hitting the net with shots. You guys have a ton of attempts and not a lot got to.
I think we're hitting, like we're shooting too high right now. Our D have to get them. We have to start shooting to keep the play alive. The next play, let our forwards get a chance to get those rebounds. And I think the last couple of games maybe we're shooting the puck a little high, missing some nets, but it's not a lack for trying. Good things are happening, and we'll sort that out.
Might we see Brock in Nashville?
Hope so. I heard there's a good chance we could.
All right, there's the update from the head coach that possible Rockbuster sighting. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know if they have practice scheduled. They haven't had a practice on this road trip because it's been 4 games in 6 nights and all the travel and back-to-back and everything else. And that has to burn, and especially after a loss like this, coaches would love to have a little bit of practice time, but again, got to be mindful of this condensed schedule in the Olympic year. So I don't know if there'll be practice time. May have to wait until morning skate on Thursday to get a better sense of who's available to Adam Foote and what kind of lineup he's going to have against the Predators.
Yeah, Adam Foote kind of having the back of his team a little bit, but
yep.
He said I didn't think that we were chasing the game. I think that they were chasing the game a little bit when it kind of gets away from you, especially when you don't have a lot of shot attempts. And then also him talking about hitting the net. Quentin Hughes had a 93-mile-an-hour slap shot, went 5 feet over the net. So he is right about that. If they are getting a shot from the defense, it's low, and give your forwards a chance. Like let it hit the body in front, or at least get it to the goalie. But yeah, some of those shots are just wild and high a lot.
So off to Nashville, the Canucks go, and the end of a long road trip, that's never easy. Now the Predators are down to Anaheim. Looks like they're going to lose that one. If that's the case, that'll be 4 straight losses for the Preds, who will have 2 wins in 7 games to start the season. They were without Jonathan Marchessault in this one against Anaheim. I don't know if he'll be ready to play. But offense has been a massive issue for the Predators, who've been held to 2 goals or fewer in 5 of their 7 games now. So it's a tough league to win if you're only getting 2 goals. And part of the problem there is their power play. Even a team with Steven Stamkos, their power play was 2 for 23 heading into this one tonight against the Ducks. And UC Saros has started basically every game because that's what he happens every year there.
Yeah.
I think he's started 6 of 7 for the Predators, so I don't know what their goaltending will be, but probably Saros because it just feels like it's always him. Now, Nashville took 2 of 3 from the Canucks last year, and they weren't a very good team last season, and yet won twice. In fact, the road team won all 3 of the matchups, so both games here in Vancouver, Preds came out on top. The Canucks did get a win there. I mentioned earlier Linus Karlsson scored his first NHL goal at Bridgestone Arena, so we'll see if he can back that up and do it again on take one of those 9 shot attempts and park one in the back of the net. But Preds are a little bit of a mess. Just kind of still caught in between, and you know what you're getting from Roman Josi, but outside of that, I look through their lineup, and Philip Forsberg's off to a bit of a slow. He scored tonight against the Ducks, but he's off to a bit of a slow start. Ryan O'Reilly is their number 1 center at this stage of his career. Eric Holla, they picked up Tyson Jost. So it's a bit of a patchwork group there.
Yeah, Luke Evangelista holding out to get $6 million.
Yeah. Anyways, on paper, winnable game for the Canucks. And they should be breathing fire. They weren't very good. They don't want to get run out of rinks like they did by the Pittsburgh Penguins. So curious to see how they respond and how they bounce back. And I'm really curious to see how Adam Foote handles his bench here. And does Elias Pettersson eclipse 17 minutes of ice time? Does Jake DeBrusk get more than 7.5 at 5-on-5? So those are some of the things that we're going to be watching. You and I will be back to do this again.
Absolutely.
On Thursday, as the road trip comes to a conclusion. Again, all is not lost for the Vancouver Canucks, but fairly bleak in Pittsburgh on this night. Connor Garland, the only goal, opened scoring early. Adam Foote said it could have been 3 or 4-0. I'm not sure about that necessarily, but a couple certainly. And that might have changed the complexion of the game, but it didn't. And Arturs Silvos was part of that. That's why he was one of the stars here on Rink Wide. And Crosby and Malkin continuing to pick up points, and both of them off to very nice starts. So maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins aren't as bad as we all envisioned that they were going to be. And this was supposed to be the rebuild and tear down and, the stealth be in the running for Gavin McKenna. We'll see what happens. They're a 5-2 hockey club, the Vancouver Canucks. 4-3 after this 5-1 loss to the Penguins in Pittsburgh. On to Nashville. That's when we'll be back on Thursday. Our thanks to Jacob Fraser behind the scenes, helping us out here producing the program. For IRF, I'm Jeff. Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.